It's Phil from Fibble Exposed, and in today's episode, we got Twisting Nether, one of the biggest and strongest drug-free guys on YouTube. I'm very honored to have him on this channel. This is a very requested video. A lot of you guys want to see Fibble Exposed and Twisting Nether collab. So here it is. We're going to be discussing upper back training, drug-free training, and just a bunch of other drug-free stuff that you guys love to hear. So it's nice to have you on the channel.
Thank you, Phil. It's an honor to be here. I've been watching you for a while now and learning things, applying things I pick up from you. And, you know, I think we have a lot of things we can relate on, a lot of common ground, and it's just really cool. It's a great honor to be speaking to you right now.
Thanks, man. When did you find out about Fibble Exposed, by the way?
I'd say I started watching some of your videos maybe about 2 months ago, I think is when I first noticed. I noticed you from some of your collabs with Alex because I had noticed his channel. And, you know, I'm guessing about 2 months ago. And I only started my channel maybe a month ago. So it's pretty cool to be talking to you after having watched from the outside, you know.
Sick, man, sick. I actually found out about you from Alex mentioned you in one of his videos, you know?
Yeah.
And he mentioned, and I saw the video of you doing the rack pull with the trap bar and like with someone on your back, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And Alex messaged me. He's like, listen, you got to check out this guy, man. So I checked it out, and I like the stuff, you know.
Yeah, it gets attention when you see people on your back, you know, and it's just an easy way to get extra weight on there when you don't have enough plates, you know.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When I dropped my trap bar rack pull video, like, I'm not saying that you gave me any ideas, but I saw your trap bar version, and someone on your back and all this extra stuff, and I'm like, wow, I'm already doing the trap bar rack pull, but how can I make this more like practical, you know? So then I started taking the heaviest dumbbells in my gym, put them on the side, attach the band, you know. Then you could take like 2 other bars, you loop it through. Like,
Yeah,
with my way of doing the trap bar rack pull, you could easily load up 2,000 plus pounds if you wanted to.
yeah.
Easily. You could even load, if you really want to, you could load 3,000 pounds. If you're talking like
Yeah,
band tension and everything, chains and all that.
Oh, it was beautiful what you designed. I saw that video and I was like, oh, dude, that is awesome. It's all perfectly balanced, you know. You got plenty of room in there for your foot positioning and everything. I mean, it's pretty ideal just for going as heavy as possible, you know.
Yeah, so it's like, so just to the viewers watching, like, that's one of the reasons why I respect Nether's channel, is because he's an open guy, you know. He's not one of these ignorant YouTubers who, he's always willing to learn new things, you know. You're kind of like me in a way. You're not, you kind of look at the gym as like a laboratory, you know, and you're just like making these new experiments, just seeing like, okay, what works, what doesn't, just constant trial and error, and just staying open to different things, and inventing new exercises, and just staying open, you know. And I feel like there's a lot of ignorant, minimalist YouTubers in today's world, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. I agree. It is like a fun laboratory, and if you're not systematically experimenting and learning new things, you know, you, you I don't know. I just think that people that have enough passion, that's kind of the way they go with it. And then, like you're describing some of these more minimalist types, they would rather just have something very simple and try to justify that. And I almost feel like maybe they feel a little bit threatened by people like us that are kind of, you know, pushing the boundaries, trying new things, getting into new stuff, and getting some good results with it, you know. And it's unfortunate that when people feel a little bit threatened, they feel the need to kind of try to drag you down because, you know, as with any human endeavor, those of us that are trying things on the fringes of it are the ones that are going to discover new material that benefits everybody, you know.
of course, and like, there's so much stuff that, like, for a perfect example would be the trap bar, right? The trap bar isn't that recent. I mean, it's pretty recent. I mean, it is like, you didn't hear about powerlifters in the '70s like using trap bars, you know, or at least I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why trap bars aren't more popular because it's once you've used one, you know, it's an amazing piece of equipment. It's just like way underutilized. I can't even believe how many big public gyms I've
Let's
been
get into it, man. All right. So, so let's talk about like your stats, right? You're drug
to.
free.
Hmm. Yep.
Talk about like your weight, height, body fat if you know it, how you got into training, what kind of lifter you consider yourself, just stuff of that nature.
Okay. My height 6'2". My weight right now is 240. As far as body fat, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but in past times when I've been about this lean, if you want to call it that, I tested at about 10%. So, it's somewhere around there. Drug free all along my whole life. I've been lifting. I've been doing different kinds of workout programs and different types of lifting and strength training for 20 years. Um, as far as the type of lifter I consider myself now, um, I kind of I bounce back and forth between doing my own version of bodybuilding, which is what I'm doing right now on my channel. I'm kind of building like a library of bodybuilding workouts, and then I shift back into a mode where it's more like you could kind of compare it to strongman type stuff. Like they're not exactly any conventional lifts per se, but just stuff that I'm really strong at that I enjoy doing that works all my different muscle groups, and I push myself at that. That's not to say I don't do some conventional lifts. I do just for the range of motion and just for the functional
Hmm.
use of doing so. But as far as powerlifting and stuff, I did some of that like in my 20s and stuff. Um, I hit pretty good numbers on the three main lifts, but not at the same time. It was like totally different years in my life. When
Hmm.
I'd get really good at squat, at one time, and then at a different time I'd really focus on my deadlift. And here last year I did pretty well on my bench, but I never put it all together at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Interesting. So, so what's your take on like drug-free training? Because I know, like you said, you're a drug-free lifter. Like, you ever feel like influenced to like get on anything, or what's your drive for staying like natural, especially
Well,
at like somewhat of an older age?
right. Um, for me, there's been plenty of times where I thought about it. I did some research and I thought, yeah, I could use some of these drugs and probably do it in a relatively safe way, and be smart about it and be cautious and what have you. But I I weighed it up for myself. I said, is bodybuilding really like your life? Because if it's your life, then maybe you want to take that step. But if it's not, if it's just one of the things that you're really into, but you're
Mhm.
not willing, like I don't have any intention of competing, getting on a stage, and doing a show or anything. So to me, uh, I'm not really a true full-on bodybuilder, so there's just no point in taking that step because if I ever took that chemical step, to me, the only way to justify that for me, for myself, in my own opinion, would be to just really be like a full-on professional competitive bodybuilder and go that road. But as it is, my life's more diverse. I'm into a variety of things.
Mhm.
I do have good genetics for a natural, very good genetics. I enjoy the lifting. I need the outlet anyway. So it's like I'm going to be working out every day, pretty much one way or the other. Um, and I can't help but be creative with it and try different things over time. So that's helped me make a lot of progress and learn a lot of tricks along the way. Um, but as far as drugs, it's just I can't justify that path for myself because um, I'm not
Yeah.
interested in competing as a bodybuilder or anything like that.
But your main goals though, is it like, would you say it's more on the strength side and more aesthetics? Because you said you have your own style of bodybuilding.
Yeah, I care a lot about both strength and aesthetics, and if I had to choose,
Yeah, if you have to
I, I,
choose.
I would go with strength. I would go with function over appearance, when it really comes down to it. So I enjoy the bodybuilding stage. I am somewhat vain. I do care how I look, and I enjoy building some mass. Um, but I actually have more fun when I'm in the strength phase where I'm just picking up really heavy stuff. That's actually what I naturally enjoy
Yeah.
doing the most.
Well, luckily, when you're drug free, they go hand in hand. If you chase strength, you're gonna get bigger anyways. So.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got to. I've seen guys on gear that get pretty big, and I've never seen them lift anything heavy. And it's like Wow, I don't understand that. How
Yeah.
do you do that?
Well, it's because a lot of them like there's certain parts of the body that aren't like quite caught up. It's like the muscles are getting bigger and bigger, but like there's other parts that aren't developing as fast. So it's like they're a bit scared to lift as heavy.
Yeah,
Stay
yeah,
on the safe side.
yeah, I can't believe how many big guys like professional bodybuilders get weird injuries, like just walking through a parking lot somewhere and they slip and, tear their knee apart or something. It's like, wow, you've been doing all these squats for all these years and all that, but, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is if it's bad tendons or if it's just like
Yeah,
really imbalanced tendons and muscles or something, but a lot of weird injuries.
yeah. But that's like the reason why I'm bringing that question to your attention is because I get like some people like writing like private messages on Instagram and stuff. And I had this one guy maybe like a week ago, and he's like, Phil, he's like, if you were to get on shit, like just some low tests, if you were to get on like some low tests and like just not really like tell anybody, just like kind of like hide it, keep it a little secret like everybody else, like your traffic would go through the roof, you know. And
Yeah,
he's telling me like all the benefits and all this stuff, and me, I'm just like, one, like the physique and the strength I'm kind of like aiming for. Like I don't really need drugs to fulfill that, And
right,
also, I
right.
was also on Facebook the other day too, and like someone posted this quote, and it's like, uh, money is numbers, and like numbers never end. So if you're chasing money, you're never gonna be happy, something like that. And you can kind of relate that back to the drugs. It's like you never see any of these drug users really like that happy. It's like
Right, right.
you're never really gonna be satisfied like with your measurements. You're never gonna really
Sure.
be satisfied with your strength.
Sure, absolutely. And
It's
that
like
was another factor I thought about. You just reminded me was that if you go down that path, like you say, it's always going to be a matter of how do I get even more. So over time, you're just going to want to put more and more drugs in you, and you hear about people doing that, like
it
just
never stops. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like it's a
I,
never-ending cycle.
yeah, no thanks. Like you say, you don't really need them for the strength anyway. So if that's what's most important to you, and furthermore. The dimensions these days of professional bodybuilders, like it looks uncomfortable to me being, 5'8", 5'9", and being like 300 pounds. I don't even know like how these guys walk, to be honest with you, let alone have like I care about real world athleticism too.
Of
So
course, of course.
there's a point where being too thick is not even helpful in a lot of situations.
Of course, I guess everybody's just trying to be like more and more of an outlier. Because just the fact that we're lifting like, we're at a decent level. Like at least I'm at a very decent level in strength. You're probably more advanced, but like we're bigger than the general population. Like we're big. We're like the 2%, like 3%.
Yeah,
But everybody
exactly.
wants to be like that 0.5%. Everybody wants to. It's never really enough. Everybody wants to be more of a freak, and like people are saying that the standards are just going up, but I argue that it's just that the drug use is just becoming more popular and more of the norm.
Yeah.
It's not that people are getting more disciplined and working harder. It's just that people are just starting to pin earlier on.
Yep. Yep.
So it's
Oh,
like,
definitely, definitely, man. There's when you hear the statistics on the people that are taking steroids. Now, I don't know where they get these statistics, but I can't believe it. It's like really, there's that many. That means that like when you go in a gym, a lot of those guys in there are on the gear, but there's not a lot of people that look like very advanced at all. So I'm doing the math here, going, wow. I guess people think that you can just take the drugs and kind of go to the gym and not even know what you're doing,
yeah,
and supposedly that's going to get you where you want to go, but I don't think so.
yeah. And to all the viewers watching, I'm not anti-drug at all. Like a lot of my favorite athletes are on drugs. It's just we're just talking about our personal lives here.
Yeah, exactly,
so
exactly.
so I'm definitely not anti-drug. But anyway, so
Yep.
let's get more into the questions. I just wanted to know a bit more of your personal stuff, and now we could jump into more of like the upper back like portion of the video.
Okay.
So speaking of the upper back, like I noticed that you're a huge advocate of upper back training. A lot of the training that you do is upper back related, and it's kind of like that for me too. Like I like to work my upper back in like the majority, like a lot of different lifts. So I see you doing a lot of rack pulls. I see you doing a lot of rows. I see you inventing lifts. So, what is it with the upper back? Like, why do you like it so much? Why is it a muscle that you want to really develop?
Well, for me, it's when I look at the body in sections, like aesthetically, and I see, well-developed bodies, and I look at all the different sections, the back is just, it's the biggest, most complex array of amazing-looking muscles, and that's one side of the coin. The other side is, um, I really feel like because it's behind people, and for some reason, people, they obsess about their chest, their shoulders, their arms, stuff like that's been real popular for a long time. I just feel like back training, especially upper and middle back,
Yeah, it's
it's it,
ridiculous.
yeah, it's been underdone for a long time, and people have not been truly applying themselves. With a little effort, when you put your mind in the muscle and try to feel it, you come up with some lifts that really dig deeper into there. You can feel it if you care. But I think people just they have like a back day, and they go, oh, it's back day, so I'm going to do some of these and some of these and some of these, and that's it. That was back day. They don't
Boom.
really they don't have enough passion to realize that section of your body has the potential to be, so impressive if you'll really give it the attention that it deserves. There's a lot more muscle there than there is in, most anywhere else.
That's the thing. Like, like when I always wanted a big back, and I noticed that over time when I started doing like certain lifts, and I started really like packing on meat back there, like my posture started improving, and not only did my upper back get bigger, but my rear delts got bigger. So my delts got bigger as a whole, so I look wider, and my lats got like a lot of secondary stimulation. My lower back got thicker. Like it was such a bang for your buck muscle to hit because even your traps got bigger, and even your neck would get a little bit bigger from like the rack pulls. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but when I was going through my like more of like a calisthenics phase where I was doing like heavy weighted chin ups, like I didn't have I was a bit wide, but my upper back was not thick.
Right, right.
I started doing like heavy partials, just like heavy rowing variations, just like rack pulls below the knee, just like pulling from every single height, different rep ranges, and just like attacking from different angles. And like speaking of angles, I remember in one video you even mentioned like people have no idea how much potential the back has to grow naturally. It's nuts. Like it's probably like you could even argue that like in 20 years you won't even if you train it properly, like you'll still have a lot in the tank left. There's just so much mass back there. It's not like your chest or like your biceps where it's like, you know, especially if you have good
Yeah,
genetics too.
yeah. I agree with what you're saying completely. Like, like you say with a bicep, it's like after a certain amount of time, it's going to take a lot of work just to get a little more out of that same thing that you've already, filled in so well. But with your back, you got layers upon layers, and they're running at all these different angles. And a lot of the, I know for me and for most people, a lot of the years I've spent training, I wasn't even really activating some of the some of the muscles in my back on any given workout. I just wasn't getting deep enough into it. So,
It's true,
like you
yeah.
say, there's a lot of potential back there.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
angles and the angles, like you say, are important because there are so many angles to your back, to the muscles.
Yeah. It's like and you could train in a certain way where it's like pretty much every lift that you're doing is gonna hit your back like extremely hard. Like even like a lift like front squats, which no one really thinks about it. It's hands down one of the best like isometric upper back exercises out there. Along with like Zercher squats. Because you can't like lean forward or anything. Like like isometrics, people don't really think about it. Like the back is working a lot. Like even on stuff like even on I could think of lifts for days.
Yeah, yeah,
But like it's nuts.
yeah. Like you're saying, the back's it's so central in the body. Like all your limbs are tied to it. Even your chest, in a sense. Like when you're pressing, you're kind of using your back. So, it's kind of unavoidable that you're going to use it a lot. And like yourself, I like to hit it kind of frequently anyway, and include it even in other workouts. Like if maybe I'm focused on legs, like you say, a lot of great leg exercises. If you do them certain versions of it, you can be hitting your back at the same time. So it's like,
Of course,
why
yeah.
not? You know?
Yeah, you get more bang for like a snatch grip RDL, you get crazy upper back stimulation or like a front squat, Zercher squat. Like we'll elaborate on that stuff later, like the snatch grip lifts, but let's dive more into like the rack pulls, right?
Okay.
So I know that's the lift that I saw on your channel, and that's the one that really got my attention, and that's the one that's getting attention from a lot of the viewers. So like, if you mind explaining to the viewers what your experience is with the rack pull, like talk about like the different heights, the different variations, how they
Okay.
stimulate your back in different ways, and just like talk about like your 1,500 pound pull. How do your traps
Okay.
feel?
Yeah. Wonderful, man. Wonderful subject. And I think it's really cool that you guys have made this, you and Alex, and now, I'm contributing as well, making various types of rack pulls, more publicly accepted, because it's the weirdest thing how people think, well, trap training, that's always just shrugs. But, it's like those of us that have discovered this realize that when you can get your legs up under that and lift some really heavy weight, that stretch overload, you're obviously flexing your traps and your whole yoke. You have to, and yet it's being stretched down and lengthened at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime a muscle is getting, it's contracting really hard, but it's being overpowered and stretched at the same time. It's like the ultimate heavy negative, and it digs in really deep and it gets you growth, whether you're natural, whether you're enhanced. I mean, I'm sure it works well for anybody. And not to mention your core, you get some core strength and stability, you strengthen your skeleton, you strengthen your nervous system holding heavier weights, you strengthen your grip. Um,
Yeah, just so much bang
and
for your buck, like.
yeah, exactly. You get so much for it, and it's a pretty fun lift. I mean, I think so. I know you do.
Of
So,
course, yeah. But me personally, like with the new discovery of the trap bar rack pull, where you just put the heaviest dumbbells in the middle, and right next to the handles, it like it's the best of both worlds because the main problem with the bar version, and I keep telling people this, is that, in my opinion, it's not practical. It's really not because you're gonna get kicked out of gyms. You're gonna bend a bunch of bars. That's the main problem. It bends bars way too fast. You could even be a novice. Let's say you never even touched a weight in your life. Let's say if I just take like a bum off the street who never touched a weight, and I really show him the technique of the rack pull, and I gave him straps and like a belt, for sure he'd hit like 315 for sure.
hmm
It's like there's so many overloading benefits, and like it's good and it's bad. And the bad part is that it bends the bar way too much. Unless if you're like in Mike the Machine's backyard, I mean Bud Jeffrey's backyard or something. We have like these really serious bars or something, but for the
yeah,
most part, most commercial gyms, the bar starts to bend after 800,
yeah,
700. So with
yeah,
the trap bar does not bend. Like it really doesn't, especially if you have a good one. And if you have the heavy dumbbells in the middle, it's closer to your center of gravity.
yeah,
So the problem is these guys, they keep loading up weight on the straight bar, and like they'll put like elastic bands on the sides with like hanging dumbbells, and like the bar's gonna bend more and more.
yeah,
And the more the bar bends, the easier the lift gets too, because
yeah,
it's like I feel like the trap bar is hands down way better. The only downside to the trap bar is that some gyms don't have it, and if your gym doesn't have it, you could pay like 160, $200 to get it. It's worth it. You could do other lifts with it, and then if let's say your trap bar doesn't fit in the rack, you could easily just like make blocks or just like put it on like some sort of like platform.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I did. And really, I started trap. I knew a long time ago I loved trap bars, so I got myself one for my home gym. And I actually started doing heavy trap bar block pulls first, and then, I loved it. And then later, I got more into the straight bar standard rack pull because I saw you guys doing it, and I was like, yeah, I want to learn that variation too. And sure enough, it's good, really good in its own way. And then I got into Jeffersons, and I really love those too. But like you say, as far as actually just handling the weight, not bending the bar, and getting your center of gravity, I love that about the trap bar, being able to
Yeah.
balance your body perfectly, in the middle of all the weight. It really allows you to lift the heaviest, at least in my experience,
Oh,
because
for
of
real.
that.
In my experience, I feel like I can't lift as heavy as with the straight bar. 'Cause with the straight bar, you can really dig your knees under. And
Oh
also,
yeah,
some trap bars, it's kind of like wider handles. Like my trap bar is almost 7 feet tall. So it's like when I hold it, it's kind of like a semi snatch grip.
oh okay,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So my hands are pretty wide. They're not like so when you're doing like the regular grip, you could use a clean grip on the straight bar, and you could really dig your knees under,
yeah,
and you could pretty much really like lean back and like really hitch the weight up with like a quarter squat. You know,
yeah,
you can't really do that as much with the trap bar. You know,
yeah. That's true. That's true.
but it's still effective. Like you're still getting like all the overloading benefits. You know,
Yep, yep.
so
And if nothing else, like I like to, kind of, especially when I'm in bodybuilding mode and I'm not worrying about setting a personal best on anything. Like I like to just alternate between these different types of rack pulls because they're all hitting
yeah,
basically the same muscles, but totally different amount of tension on which part of the muscle and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a good way to always be getting some kind of stimulation and growth.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have a lot of people like when I was posting these trap bar rack pull videos, people were like, "Listen, Phil, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. You know, it's not even a competition exercise." And I told him like, "How is it not a competition exercise? It's called the frame deadlift in strongman. It's the exact same thing. The frame deadlift, if you stand in it, is pretty much a high trap bar rack pull.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
I,
like,
lo- I guess that's why I love strongman so much is they go ahead and just use lifts that like you can get a better leverage and just lift the most ridiculous weight possible. And cool looking stunts like that, especially when they use like cars or you
yeah,
know giant objects. It just I love training like that. I think it's pretty cool.
yeah, and it's like you have to look at it as like, look at the athletes as a whole too. Like, if you were, if let's say you were to take real drug free powerlifters, strongmen, Olympic weightlifters, right? And like bodybuilders, whatever. Like strongmen, hands down, have the biggest traps.
Yeah,
No questions asked. The Olympic lifters, they have some good traps, from like the high pulls and like the cleans and all that stuff. But they don't compare it to like, I would say that the Olympic lifters and the power lifters, for the most part, the trap size is pretty much tied. Maybe the Olympic lifters have a bit higher. But the strongmen, hands down, have way higher because they're still doing cleans and all that stuff, but they're doing the heavy partial lifts.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
doing the heavy car deadlifts, the farmer's walk handle deadlifts. They're doing the frame deadlifts, like all the partial heavy lifts you could think of. They're doing them.
Yeah.
And it's like they also have the biggest traps, like drug free or not. So it's like
Yep.
you kind of have to
Yep.
copy them if you want to get some traps.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the
Makes
whole
perfect sense.
Yep. And the upper back, like I have great respect for powerlifting. I have great respect for the core, the glute strength, the hammy strength, and all that from a good standard deadlift. But as far as the physique, the guy who does the really heavy rack pulls, his upper back being bigger actually looks more impressive just visually. So that's worth a lot right there.
Yeah, and like also what I find so funny too is like when I say a statement like the rack pull, like the trap bar rack pull is the best trap lift. People think that I'm only limiting myself to that. But I'm not so ignorant that I'm gonna only do partials. Like I do full range of motion lifts, and to add on to that, I do even like lifts that like accentuate the range of motion.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the other day, I was doing a snatch grip deadlifts on like 2 plates. And like a
Nice.
real snatch grip, like it's like it doesn't get you can't. There's no lift that offers more range of motion than that. Like you're moving that weight easily, like close to 2 feet.
Yeah,
And it's like
yeah.
I feel like that's when you're really gonna get the biggest back possible drug free. It's not limiting yourself just to partials, not limiting yourself to full range lifts, but you combine them all into one system. You pull from
Abs-
above the knee, you pull from below the knee, you pull from like below the floor. Like deficits. And
yep.
it's like
I,
people are always so like black and white. Is it this or this? Is it calisthenics or is it weights? And it's like everything is like a tool. And like your body is like a house, and like you use the right tool for the right job. And like you don't have to use every tool, but just to know that you have all these tools is good.
Absolutely.
So
I
people are just so
totally,
ignorant.
yeah, I love your philosophy. I think the same way, man. It's better to have more tools in your tool shed. Like you say, you may not use them all the time, but they're there and you can throw them in when you need them. And this mentality people are in where it's always versus. It's like, is it this or is it this? Like you're saying. And it's like, well, ideally, I should find a place where both those things can be of use, somewhere in my training. It doesn't need to be a versus, it could be like, we
Of
can just
course.
be expansive and use all these things.
Yeah, they all complement each other. And I think that's the reason why the Olympic weightlifters I think from the Chinese ones, they do so well because if you look at a lot of their training, they're doing like some really, they're always trying out new lifts, you know? They have very unconventional ways of looking at their training. Like they're always trying out new stuff, you know? And they're not so stuck in one way. They just do what works. And also a lot of other bodybuilders like John Meadows, who's hands down one of my favorite bodybuilders. He's one of the only bodybuilders who's actually using like bands and chains and just constantly trying out new lifts, inventing lifts, you know, like the Meadows row, the rear delt swing, whatever. And you see the guy's development, you know. And he
Yeah,
doesn't have the best genetics either. So
right.
it's like I feel like people just have to be a bit more open and just stop being so ignorant and just try it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're missing out. People are missing out when they're being dogmatic or narrow-minded about stuff, and that's okay if they want to stick to just one type of workout or whatever. That's fine. People can do whatever they want, but to me, it seems like you get better gains by trying things either in strength or in physique or both or whatever. So I don't know. I think some of us just have a little more of a creative passion for it, and other people are working out more just because they want to be in decent shape or whatever, but they probably just don't have as much of a that passion for the science and the art of it that some of us have.
Mm-hmm. Moving forward with like the upper back though, like I noticed that like at one point when I was bending all these bars with the rack pull, right? I pretty much just stopped doing them altogether. Long story short, I started doing more pulls on the floor, and I wasn't really getting like the upper back stimulation that I really wanted. Like, it was okay, but it wasn't like. So then I started using bands, and then I noticed with the bands it was a really annoying setup. So then just for the fun of it, one day I tried to do a snatch grip deadlift, right? And I noticed that my upper back and my lats were literally sore for like close to a week, like 5 days of intense DOMs off like 3 sets, you know. And then I noticed that like I was studying like the Olympic weightlifters, and I was just like looking at forums and just looking at videos and like looking at Christian Thibodeau and all these guys, and people kept saying how like snatch grip lifts are the best for the upper back. So I started incorporating snatch grip pulls below the knee, and just if you go on my channel, that's all I'm talking about. Snatch grip lifts. I can't shut up about it, and I'm just want to know, did you ever try snatch grip lifts?
I did actually
And if
when
you
you
did,
when
tell the audience about it if you tried.
okay, yeah, I started experimenting with it because you shot me a message about it, recommending it, and I was like, cool, I don't really have much experience with that. Let me try it and see what I notice. Without even reading about it, I just went and did um, a whole snatch grip deadlift type workout, and what I noticed was my rear delts and that whole altitude of my upper back got really fatigued, like fast, like early on in the workout. I was like, what is this? This is unusual. And sure enough, like you say, it just hit that whole, shoulder blades height all across my back really well. And I wasn't even using heavy weight really. I was just using lightweight and doing sets, because it was something new and I wanted to experiment with it. But yeah, I was really surprised. I went really wide. I went like clear to the end of the bar because I got really long arms anyway. And it like you say, it turns it into an exercise where you can actually build upper back at the same time.
Yeah, it's debatable for the traps. Like let's say snatch grip deadlift, snatch grip like rack pulls, um, snatch grip high pulls for sure they're great for traps, But let's say if we're talking about like the deadlift variations, I don't know if they're the best for traps, but for upper back and lats, I argue that like there's literally a direct correlation between my snatch grip deadlift, my snatch grip rack pull below the knee, and like my back size. If I add like 50 pounds to those lifts, guaranteed like there's a noticeable difference. And I have an Instagram account. I've been posting like back posing videos. And you can see week to week, it's just getting more and more freaky. Like you're seeing
Yeah,
more and more of a difference.
yeah,
But
yeah. Your back's getting
it's
it's
getting
getting
there,
pretty
man. It's
freaky,
getting there.
man.
Like I give myself credit where it's due. My arms suck, but like you gotta give yourself credit. And like the thing I like about these snatch grip lifts is that it's so practical. It's so simple. It's like you don't need any fancy equipment. People are doing deadlifts anyways, and if you have
Yeah,
bodybuilding goals, all you have to do is just widen the grip a bit. And a lot of people are gonna say, a lot of people in the comments section they argued and they wrote to me directly. They're like, Phil, like you could go heavier on the deadlift, so isn't the deadlift better for the upper back? And I told them not at all. And like I told them that the grip placement is everything, because if you take something like the bench press, no one's saying that the bench press is the best tricep lift, but all of a sudden if you just narrow the grip a bit, it's the best tricep builder on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with these snatch grip lifts. It's like, you take a clean grip, all of a sudden you just widen it, to a snatch grip, and it's like you're getting all this back development,
Yeah, yeah.
It's a completely different lift.
It is, yeah. That's a perfect comparison. The difference between narrow and wide grip bench, all chest and shoulders out here, and then all arms and shoulders in here. Two totally different lifts without even doing anything except hand width. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I'm going to be doing a lot more snatch grip now that you got me, toying with it, because I was impressed, and it tore up and fatigued some upper back and rear delt muscles a lot faster than I thought. I was like, what is this, man? Why am I getting so weak so fast? That's crazy, because I've never really done it, so it was a total shock.
Yeah, and also for lats too. Like, I don't do any pull-ups, zero. I don't do any pull-ups. I don't do any pullovers, and my lats are becoming one of my best body parts. And my lats are smoked every time I do these snatch grip lifts.
Nice.
And it's like, because it's just crazy, and like I'm encouraging more people to do them, and the feedback I'm getting is ridiculous. Like on these snatch grip lifts,
Yeah.
But moving on, so let's talk like more goals. Like I saw, so you did the 1,500-pound rack pull or the block pull. Are you shooting for like 2,000, or like what's the goal?
I think maybe that might be my long-term goal for an ultimate block pull. But before I head towards that one, I set a different goal in the meantime, which is to do a standard stance barbell rack pull with one hand with 1,000 pounds. That's my new
one hand.
Like just the shortest rack pull possible, just to get the bar off the pins, But I'm gonna have to rig up some kind of like super strap and tie it onto the bar and stuff.
Yeah. But how are you gonna hold? You're gonna have, like, let's say you're pulling it with your right hand. You're gonna have your left hand on your left leg. And just
yeah. The free hand pretty much pushes on my inner thigh,
Yeah.
And you just get your lifting hand right in the exact middle of the barbell, and tie it on. And because it's a rack pull and you're only lifting it like, I'm only going to lift it like half an inch anyway, so it doesn't matter if the bar slightly does this as I lift it, as long as I just get it airborne.
For like a nice second, yeah. So do you know what you're at right now on that lift? Or?
So far I've been limited by my grip. I've done 7 plates on each side, just barely. But the arm, shoulder, everything else felt fine. It was just I couldn't hold on to it, even with the strap that I had. So, that's the limiting factor right now. So that's my next goal for, rack pull stunts.
I thought of that one in the past though. Like I thought of the one arm rack pull, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like it at all. I felt like it felt like really awkward, and like I even tried like taking a trap bar and you put it like, let's say you're standing up, you take the trap bar and you pretty much stand it up to the side, and it's like a one arm trap bar rack pull,
Mm-hmm.
And like, but I feel like heavy partial unilateral like pulls, they feel a bit awkward for me.
Yeah.
But if you could pull it off, man, that's sick.
Yeah, I noticed there's a weird twist going on in the core when I do it for sure. So that's probably a concern. I'm not necessarily recommending it to anybody yet. I just wanted to shoot for that because it'd be a really cool video, a one arm 1,000-pound rack pull stunt.
Yeah, no, nobody ever did that before,
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. So let's talk about the Nether row. I know it's a lift you're popular, like that you really popularized yourself, and it's pretty much like what, like it's like pretty much a Meadows row, but like you're shrugging it a bit, no?
Yeah. Just you bend over, kind of like a Meadows row, but no arm, and what that allows is like, the back is stronger than the arms, and it's got more endurance, So when you're not limited on your rows, and I think where I figured this out was doing Yates rows, because Yates rows, you can go heavy, but I felt that still the arm pull is still the limiting factor. Like my back could pull more if my arms weren't fatiguing, So with the Nether row, I just was trying positions one day, and I was just thinking, we shrug upright, doing rack pulls and shrugs and stuff, and we get our traps big up here. if I could get leaned over a little bit and hit
Yeah.
a little more further down my back the same way, you know. So sure enough, that's what it is. It's that heavy stretch overload in your back, and it allows you to go real heavy. You know, once you get your core stability, your foot position, and you find a comfortable enough position to do it and get kind of used to it, it just allows you to go heavy and higher rep if you want to. And the most important part is to have room to where the weight doesn't hit the floor at the bottom, so you can really let it stretch at the bottom of every rep, you know, and it just stretches and digs in deep.
Hmm. I gave it an honest try, and I'm not knocking it yet. You know, I have to try it again. I tried it like twice, and I felt like the twist was a bit awkward. I think I wrote you a message about that. But I see the way. I can understand how it works. You know, and I have people who have been asking me about the lift, what I think about it, and people saying like sending me videos of their lift, and it looks like a legit lift. You know,
Yeah.
like I understand the concept. It's kind of like a horizontal shrug type thing in a way,
Yep.
and like you can go extremely heavy. It's like a partial lift. Like I
Yep.
understand. But what about the T-bar version? Because I noticed you've been doing that one too, no?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the T-bar, the good old T-bar rows, but you know, everybody's complaint has always been the range of motion on it's the only thing. And this just, you know, it gives you the full range of motion. Now you can contract your muscles as far as they go and stretch them as far as they go and not be, you know, running into yourself with the plates. And so, you know, I thought that was a pretty good improvement. It kind of takes, you know, again, you're going to have to do your arm work separately because you're not getting, you know, all the brachialis and stuff that you would normally be on
Hmm.
all these rows, but it allows you to isolate harder into the back, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So you dedicate a lot of your upper back size to that, or your mid back size to the nether rows?
Yeah, between the heavy block pulls, heavy trap pulls, or heavy rack pulls, and the nether rows, those are definite. And the heavy, I got to give some credit to heavy Yates rows. I'd say those three things have allowed me to, you know, do the most overload on my back, and that's
Hmm.
really added the thickness, you know, the depth. Like yourself, I had width, like lat width, starting a long time ago, um, both genetically as well as from doing a lot of chin ups and pull ups and stuff. But over the years, I'd look at myself from the side and say,
Yeah,
you
some
know,
paper, like yeah.
yeah, you need that thickness to really give it that 3D. And the back just it looks so cool when you've got those shady spots between the muscles. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Like I tell guys all the time, it's like you train for thickness, you're gonna get the width. You train for width, you're not necessarily gonna get the thickness. You know, if
that's
you're doing heavy rows with like you're doing barbell rows like full range of motion, 405, doing like you know snatch grip deadlifts like 585, you're doing trap bar or rack pulls in the thousands. Like you're gonna have some wide lats. You know,
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
doing like metal rows or like you know 7 8 plates like. But at the same time, if you want to maximize your width, obviously you want to do some like some weighted chins and stuff like that. But like, I feel like my back never really like, cause right now I'm like 225, 230 ish. You know, at around like 5'11". The body fat, I have no clue. But
yeah.
when I was around 205, I did a 2 plate pull up, a neutral grip, close grip, for 2 reps, like a double. And it was like
Nice.
dead stop, it was like nice form, whatever. So that means I was doing a plate and a half for reps.
Yeah.
But my back looked like dog shit. And I was really focusing on those lifts. I was really focusing on the weighted chins and stuff like that. And I feel like I just didn't get my money's worth, you know.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden when I started, you know, I'm like fuck the pull-ups, fuck the pullovers. They're great lifts, you know, but like I just did like my little experiment. I'm probably gonna get back to them in the future, you know.
Yeah.
Probably do some wide grip pull-ups or stuff.
Sure.
But when I really started prioritizing the upper back stuff, the width came, like the lats came, the rear delts came, the
Yeah.
posture got a lot better, you know.
Well, I don't know if I'm right about this, but I don't recall. I tried to study Dorian Yates and learn what I could from his, you know, experiences or whatever. And it seems like he got really into different kinds of rows and partial deadlifts and stuff. I don't remember him really doing chin ups and pull ups, you know. And he was known for having
It's true,
like,
huh? It's true, yeah.
yeah, yeah, he built the most amazing back just way ahead of his time. And I don't ever remember even seeing the guy do any chin ups or pull ups. So, you know,
Hmm.
you're on the right track. You just got to figure out what works for your body and go for it. And don't worry about,
Yeah.
you know, what somebody else thinks because a lot of it's just talk and theory, you know. And when you find something that actually works, it's like the results are what speaks. When you show people the muscle, then they're going to listen to you and they're going to be willing to, try it your way, or at least some of them will, hopefully.
That's it. Like like the way I'm approaching back training, like year after year, it's like it keeps changing and changing, but it keeps getting simpler and simpler. At first, it was way too complicated, and I love rows. Don't get me wrong, I'm obsessed with rows, but the one thing that I don't like, and this is kind of good or bad, and I feel like it's really hard to keep track of progress, because sometimes it's not that I'm getting stronger, it's my form is just getting shittier, and I'm just like I'm with a buddy, and I just want to like I put more quad into it, I put more back low back into it. And the thing I really like about the snatch grip lifts, like these snatch grip deadlift variations, it's like you got the rep or you didn't. Like it's like, and it's really easy with these snatch grip lifts to really keep track of your progress. Whereas like I feel like with the rows, it's like, and like like these heavy pendlay rows, like eventually it just looks like a deadlift where you just bend your arm a tiny bit at the top, you know, which is good or
Yeah,
bad. It's good or bad. But I feel
yeah,
like I don't even know where I'm trying to go out with this, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? Like a lot of people, like their rows are just like they look like dog shit.
yeah,
And like
yeah. Like you're saying, it's the row in by its nature, at least any standing row, it allows for so much cheating that there's no way to really ever, that's probably why it's not a competition lift, because
exactly, that's
people
exactly why, yeah.
people would never agree on whether that form counted or not, because there was a little bit of body English, and it's like there's always gonna be, that's a row. So
Exactly. So it's like, so just speaking of rows, it's like I love rows, but I just approach them in a different way. Now I like the bent over row with the bar with like a semi snatch grip. So with the snatch grip, it's just too awkward. With the close grip, it's cool. I still do it. But I've noticed with the semi snatch grip, it tends to stress the upper back to like a great degree. Like, have you ever tried it?
yeah, I definitely have played with my grip on Rosemore, and like you say, the wider you go, the harder it is. The more humbling it gets, the lighter the weight. Even though the range of motion gets kind of short when you're out there, it's
Well, semi snatch.
oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah. So like,
yeah.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
I've played with pretty much every grip width on rows, and like when I'm bodybuilding, I'll pick a width and I'll do like a whole workout that way. Like today we're going narrow, because that'll kind of target certain muscles a certain way.
Okay, okay.
And then like maybe next time if we do a similar row, we might go really wide because it'll kind of hit the same muscles but in a totally different way. But like you say, as far as strength progress, rows are just they're kind of all over the place. I,
Yeah.
I switch them up constantly for bodybuilding because, like you say, it's really difficult to keep track of your progress because you don't know the way I was repping it this time. It probably wasn't
Exactly,
exactly the
exactly.
same. Yeah,
So that's why I tell people, and like as far as for like my training and like when I'm dropping a book called Silverback. It's basically a book that's gonna show people how to reach their upper back potential, and like just really like develop the muscles in back, like the long head of the triceps. It's just like whatever. But
that
I personally think that rows should never be a main lift. It should just be an assistance lift. So people saying, oh, my goal is to get like this heavy, like Ronnie Coleman status T-bar row and stuff like that. It's like I feel like one, if you prioritize your rows, like you make it a main thing, I think your pulls, like your rack pulls and deadlifts, might go down.
yeah,
Whereas if you prioritize your deadlift variations and your rack pull variations, your rows are most likely going to go up.
yeah.
And
I agree.
also like it's way easier to keep track of progress with pulls off the floor, pulls below the knee, and pulls you know. So
Yeah,
I think rows they're an extremely good tool, and like you could use them with like high frequency, high volume,
yeah,
and you could pretty much get away with rowing every workout if you really wanted to. But I feel like they should be an assistance lift.
yeah,
You know. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
That
that's
makes
that's
sense to
my
me.
current that's my current approach on rows.
That makes good sense to me. It really
Yeah.
does.
You know. But speaking of rows, I also made another discovery. It's like I don't know if you saw on Instagram, like I pretty much bought an adjustable dumbbell, went up to like 300, and I basically did like a dumbbell row, with it, and like it was good. It was good, but eventually it's like it was really hard to keep track of progress, like I was saying, you know. And
Yeah.
also like
Yeah.
a lot of gyms, like the dumbbells go up to 150 and stuff like that. So lately with my rows, I've been leaning more towards like landmine stuff, you know, like one arm T-bar, landmine rows, metal
Yeah.
rows, because like the progressions are unlimited. You know, you're never really gonna
Yeah.
get to 12 plates on a metals row. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I came up with another row too, is because I didn't have any dumbbells, and I was working with different, and even if I had, they wouldn't have been heavy enough really. So I was working
Mhm.
with different kind of landmine setups with my, you know, barbell. And in some ways, I'm thankful sometimes not having so much equipment because I've had to learn. What's that saying? Like, uh, necessity is the mother of invention or whatever. So it's
Mhm.
like, by being kind of limited on equipment, I've had to experiment, and that's actually helped me create some of these lifts. And the
Mhm.
thing, like, and I keep adding variations because, different people's body styles are different. A lot of people we're kind of troubleshooting these lifts together, and they're giving me feedback. And
Yeah,
one
yeah,
guy's
yeah.
like super
Too tall.
tall,
Yeah,
and one
exactly,
guy's
exactly.
short, and it's all different. And but we're nailing it down. We're getting there. People are starting to really give positive feedback when they find the variation of it that suits their physiology. They're like, "Whoa, dude, my whole upper back, I've never felt it like that sore," and
Yeah, yeah.
so it's like right on.
Exactly, exactly. But the fact that you're doing these nether rows with like the landmine, I find it interesting because I also found that like through like trial and error, my back it does tend to get more sore, and soreness doesn't mean it's progress, you know, but like it does tend to get bigger and stronger when I'm doing unilateral rows with like a landmine. You know, I feel like the landmine offers a different kind of stretch, a different kind of contraction, a different kind of squeeze at the top, and just like a whole different experience as a whole, as
Yeah,
opposed to a dumbbell. You know, and
yeah,
also and coincidentally, you could also go heavier. So
yeah,
it's
yeah. It's
like,
almost, how people talk. You know about this, like the benefits of training one leg at a time, especially for athletes. Somehow this applies the same way to the upper back. When you attack one side of it at a time, like you say, the range of motion's better. Something about the way it's pulling on the fibers is different. So, anybody looking for, extra tips to get a little more out of your back training, just like people will tell you with legs, do
yeah,
some of your back workouts one side at a time. It
yeah,
does something special, like you're saying, for sure.
yeah. Like, just like elaborating on that, like, what's your take on like dead stop reps versus like you're doing a heavy metals row or like a heavy one arm landmine row? Do you feel like your back gets more growth when you put the bar down, you make it touch the floor, or if you like make it like 1 or 2 inches away from the floor, so you're really getting that stretch, but you're maintaining it, as opposed to just letting it go.
That's an awesome question. I personally believe that if you're looking more for hypertrophy, I would not let it hit the floor. I would keep it off the floor and let it stretch the muscle and lift again.
I
But if
agree.
you're
Yeah.
but specifically more for strength from the same exact exercise, I'd probably let it set on the floor
Mhm.
because having to lift it from that dead stop over and over, is gonna do more for you in your strength development than it. Whereas not setting it down, I think, is going to do a little more from a bodybuilding perspective.
Yeah. That's exactly my discovery. Like that's my final like conclusion with it. Like I feel like when I would put it down on the floor, I would be getting a lot stronger and I could lift a lot more weight. Like when I did the 300-pound dumbbell rows, I was not putting it 1 or 2 inches away. Like it would drop right down. You know, I was
Yeah,
getting stronger, and also from like a recovery standpoint, it's a lot easier on a recovery. You know, because
yeah,
your lower back doesn't get as sore. So that's pretty much the trade-off. Like with the when you make it rest on the floor, you get better recovery and you get heavier weight, but you're not necessarily getting the biggest back around. But like,
yeah,
and then when you do it like 1 or 2 inches away from the floor, your back's definitely getting bigger. It's getting more stretched. You're not using as much weight, but also your back is getting more sore. So it may interfere with like your pulls off the floor and stuff.
yeah,
So it's like I'm still trying to like figure that out. You know, like which
yeah,
ones. But I think I'm gonna start incorporating both. Like in a silverback program, I'm gonna have some that where you're like pulling unilateral pulls where you're just like dead stop. Some unilateral pulls where it's like